Okay. Hello. We are live. Hello, everyone. It is Tuesday, November 3rd. Some of you may know that today is also Election Day. Everybody get out and vote.
You're going to say it was Sandwich
Make Bill
Day.
happy. He's all alone on Capitol Hill. So anyway, it is Election Day. We assume that you are either standing in a line somewhere in this great country of ours, or you're done voting and you need a break. And we're here to provide it with a little sports talk. So the gang is all here. Matt is here. Vic is here. Erik is here. I'm here. And we had another wild and wacky week in the NFL. We had a little MMA with our NFL this week, which made it even more fun. Vic, what's going on with your team over there? A little bit wacky. We had a great Monday night game last night. It was a good week. I think it was a fairly entertaining week. And let's talk about it. So Vic, first of all, if you can't win on the field, you got to beat the other team up. What's going on in the Windy City there? It was appalling. It was terrible.
That was wild, man. I don't know if you guys saw the little thread that I sent you guys.
Yes.
But apparently, again, it's on video, so the apparently part is the spit part. So he says he spit on him. The other part is he did take his mouthpiece, throw it. And it's the same guy that Michael Thomas punched in the mouth in practice. Same guy last year who was kind of mocking Tariq Cohen when we matched up. So he's obviously an instigator. So that being said, it was still pretty stupid. I mean, this is football. There's so many ways to get a guy back if you want to get him right. Like on the next play, you just tackle him, like from behind, whatever you want to do. And just like to do that. And also, as bad, I mean, you guys know this, but Bears offense is terrible. Third quarter, we finally moving the ball, 2nd and 5, and then to get that penalty, 2nd and 20, the rest is history, right? So it was just dumb, idiotic. He's getting suspended 2 games. He has appealed, so we'll see what happens. But, yeah, it was bad, man. And Bears are not looking good, man. We've been talking about this, but their offense is just so bad, and now they got the Titans off of 2 losses. So looking like 5-4 to me, but I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, for those of you out there who are interested, this guy on Twitter, his name is Evan Sachs, but I guess he pronounces it Sachs because it's Saacks, and he did it was like the John Boy of football. I mean, it was kind of like a John Boy breakdown of what happened there. It was excellent, and it made me think that the reason he only got Wims, we're talking about, only got a 2-game suspension is because I think even the league recognizes this guy in the Saints is such a jackass that he probably deserved it. You know what? Maybe it was okay that he hit him because the guy deserved to get hit. So we're only going to give you a 2-game suspension because we're on your side. But yeah, so I recommend finding Evan Sachs on Twitter and checking that out. It's pretty funny.
I think they're trying to make.
Yeah, man. I don't know.
They were trying to make an example out of him, right? Because we've seen all-out brawls and stuff, right? The chain brawl, and we've seen it all.
Yeah.
So, and those guys never got suspended. So I think it was just the moment, the stupidity, just one-on-one, right? In the middle of stuff.
Yeah, you can't be swinging at a guy like that, And I got to say, I thought he was going to get suspended for a lot longer. So actually, I'm not even sure they're really even making an example out of him. I mean, 2 games. I mean, if he appeals it and they knock it down to 1 game, then it's really, considering what happened, obviously and I'm not comparing these because there's really no comparison. But, Myles Garrett got, thrown out for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But that was a different thing. He hit the guy with the helmet. I mean, that's a whole other deal. But no, I thought they were going to make a bigger example out of him for doing that. It was just so egregious to be just swinging when the guy's not even looking and then swinging at him again and then celebrating he was dancing around like he'd done some great thing. But so he only got 2 games. But that was a big highlight. You just don't see that in the NFL every day. So I thought that was kind of fun. But there were also the games on the field. Erik, man, were we all thinking about Erik? Did we all just hat tip to Erik there at the end of that Bills-Patriots game? And it looked like for a minute there, Cam was going to acquit himself and put all the bad of the season behind him. He's going to lead them down the field here, and they're going to at least get the field goal to send it to overtime. A big underachieving performance by the Bills, which we talked about on Friday that we were concerned about. And man, Cam's going to Cam.
Yeah, I almost had to eat my socks that day, but Cam held up his reputation of the year.
Yeah,
and I mean it's unfortunate, that a game has to come down to something like that. But at the end of the day, and this goes for any team that is expected to win, if they're expected to put up the numbers, they need to put up the numbers. And as bad as the Bills were, the Pats just did not perform during the game. Not just Cam, but the whole team. So you can't.
It's not a good team.
Put it all on Cam.
No.
He choked, he lost the ball, but it wasn't his fault that they were put into that position. So, you've got to give the Bills credit for doing what they did, and you've got to give Pats their slap on the wrist for letting themselves be put in that position. But at the end of the day, to continue with my same dialogue for all of the season, Cam has got to step up. He knows it. He's already said it a number of times, but he's not doing it. He continues to make rookie mistakes, and the time for that is well past.
It's funny, Erik. I kind of looked at it a little bit differently. I actually felt like the Patriots, given the circumstances of the team right now, and especially with Edelman not there, and the fact that they were actually in the game, I actually thought they played pretty well. I mean, it was more about the Bills just sort of being stuck in the mud right now. But I thought the Patriots actually, under the circumstances, I thought they played decently. And the fact of the matter is, if he doesn't fumble the ball there, they're at least almost certainly going to go to overtime. Bad weather is a bad weather situation. I actually thought the Patriots acquitted themselves pretty nicely there. And I think that might have been one of the bigger stories of the weekend if the Patriots had won that game. That maybe, their season's not really over. Now I think they're going to kind of fall off the cliff now. I think, now they're at 2-5. They're probably not coming back from that. But I didn't think they were actually, I didn't see much of it. I'm watching on the Red Zone, so I'm only seeing what they show. But just the fact that they were in a position to tie it at the end there, against L, it's not going to matter. And they're not going. No moral victories in Foxborough. But I didn't think under the circumstances, I thought they did okay. And they actually had a couple of guys step up. I thought that like Jacoby Myers, is everyone racing out to on their waiver wire to pick up Jacoby Myers this week? But ultimately the Bills hung on, and they needed that. But I'll tell you what, I'm not liking the Bills' chances going forward. I don't know, whatever they were doing right in the first 5 weeks, they're not doing any of it now. Matt, what's going on with the Bills?
Well, I was going to say, it looks like they finally got their running game up and running, I guess, up and going, which I think will suit them very, very well heading in towards the stretch, and they really, really needed to see that. So now they've become more of a two-dimensional team again, which is kind of funny because it seems like last season they really relied on their run game, and that they hadn't changed too many moving parts, and it kind of just fizzled out a little bit. So I think the Bills with a run game and a competent, quarterback as they have, who can keep playing that way, could be very dangerous. But I also wanted to add one thing. I agree with you, Jeff, about the Patriots game. I think that while I think at this point Cam Newton has not done any favors for himself to keep a job or to get another job next season, he did a lot with not much. Like you said, Myers and Bird also stepping up and having a decent game. And, has had Cam Newton hung on to that ball, we have probably a very different conversation today. And honestly, it maybe comes down to a coaching choice too, is whether or not just take the field goal and stop trying to, get a few extra yards. So I'm curious what you guys think about that, if that was a mistake to even put the ball in his hands at that point.
Yeah, it seems like I'm trying to think now, last week, the week before, who the team was that had the ball and they were down about the 30-yard line. They needed the field goal.
We were talking about it.
and they went for. I remember my wife, and God bless her, is why I married her. She loves her football, and her biggest pet peeve in football is the team that gets down in field goal range, still has like a minute, 30 seconds, whatever, and just kicks it right away, and like doesn't. So she was all in favor of the Patriots continuing to move the ball because she's like, why not take your shot? Like, get the touchdown. Like, why are you just immediately? I think it was
Wasn't
might
it
have been
Detroit?
a game that was in overtime. It was an overtime game last week where
Wasn't
they
Detroit
had a
Atlanta?
chance to kick the field goal, and they kicked it right away instead of running a couple more plays, and they missed the field goal. And she was like, why didn't they just get a little bit? Why do they? And I know coaches get all freaked out and they get all like paranoid that if we run one more play, like Cam Newton's going to fumble the ball away. Like that's every coach's nightmare. Like we could have just kicked it, and then we ran another play and we lost the ball. And they live in terror of that, so they kick right away. That there's obviously two very different philosophies about that. I wish I could remember now what game it was. I don't think it was a Sunday night game. But it was a late afternoon game, and yeah, the team had a chance. Was it your Bears last week? I don't even remember. I'm gonna get totally bogged down trying to remember what game.
The Bears is this week, so a lot of people were wondering why the Saints left a minute and a half in OT and kicked that field goal.
Yeah.
Most people are saying just run down the clock, kick the field goal. If they miss, you don't give the Bears a chance to at least come back. I think that might be the example you were talking about. Last week, the only game I can think of was like Atlanta, Detroit, with that whole Gurley thing.
Yeah, no, I think the thing too was like the team got down like the 25. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. Team got down about the 25. They sent the field goal unit onto the field on first down or second down, and I think what happened was they got called for penalties, and they still went ahead and kicked. And then, of course, that never fails. When you move a team back 5 yards, you know the kicker's going to miss it.
Was it Texans? It was the Texans game, and then that.
Possibly. We'll talk about it on Friday. I'll look it up and figure out what it was. But it was just that was situations like why were they kicked? They didn't need to kick it as quickly as they kicked it, and why didn't they try to get a little more yardage before they kicked it? But then I think the reason they do that is they look at a situation like what would happen to Cam. Oh, you just take that one play too many times, and you're going to turn it over, and then you don't get any kick, and you're dead. So I think that was. I think that's the two sides of that coin, and I'm not sure anybody. You're only right if it goes wrong, then you think, well, you should have done the other thing. Yeah.
Yeah, these are tricky situations. Like Vic mentioned briefly, what happened to Gurley last week, right? He pretty much accidentally scored a touchdown, kind of tripped and fell, and lost the game because he scored a touchdown. Kind of. I mean, the defense should have held them. Obviously, it's not his fault, but had he not, they would have won easily.
Right.
So it's tricky. It's interesting, how these things can play out.
Yeah. And then and then the Chargers this week. Well, I don't think it was a quick situation where they scored too soon, but of course then the Chargers had a similar kind of like they take the late lead and Chargers going to charge.
I was happy for that.
I was happy.
Yeah, I know you were. Yeah. All right, let's
I said Anthony Lynn as a favorite. Anthony Lynn with the lead. I will take the dog every time, and we saw it play out exactly how most of us thought it would. And like you guys said.
And that's I think that's their 15th loss in the past 23 games by one score, or by 8 points or less.
And I think the last 4 games they were up double digits. All 4 games.
Yeah.
He only won one of those games, and it was against the Jaguars.
Yeah. I have to believe that Anthony Lynn is – I mean, maybe he'll make it to the end of the season. But you got this – now you got a franchise quarterback, rookie quarterback. They're going to want to bring in a whole new staff to work with him, I'm sure. The Chargers have a chance to actually be a pretty decent team.
They do. They have some great pieces. Derwin James, Herbert is sick, and like their running backs are good. Keenan Allen's awesome. Like they got some good defensive players. Like good squad.
They get Derwin James back healthy. they get Eckler back healthy. They've got good wide receivers. They got a really good tight end. Yeah, I mean, they should be. Oh, clearly. I mean, again, you lose that many games, 8 points or less. You should be winning these games. And I feel bad for Anthony Lynn. He seems like a decent enough chap, but he's not gonna. They're gonna get rid of him for sure.
But like everyone gives Dan Quinn a lot of slack, right, for doing the same stuff, and like this guy is even worse if you really think about it. Looking at his like full resume, and especially this year, I think they were last 4 games they were double digits, and they lost all those games. So, like I agree with you. I think at the end of the year, they understand that, hey, we finally got our franchise quarterback. Let's go out and get him somebody that can, really take them to the next level next year.
Right. So I advocated a little bit for the Jets this past week with that crazy line, but you know what? The Chiefs said no. And so I guess one thing I want to ask is, looking at the AFC right now, are the Chiefs still the best team in the AFC? They probably are. Maybe that's not the right way to phrase it. Where does Pittsburgh fit into all this? Because as Erik, you're all over it again. Erik's our Steelers whisperer. He knows. Steelers again, and we saw it again with Lamar Jackson against a good team, couldn't get it done. But can the Steelers challenge the Chiefs for supremacy here in the AFC? I will throw that out to the class.
They can challenge them, but I think at the end of the day, if it came down to just those 2 teams, I think the Chiefs would come out slightly ahead. The Steelers, they're looking good. They're looking better all the time. So there's definitely some room for them to continue on their streak. Still the only undefeated team in the league this year. So they have to be given credit for that. But I think that what the Chiefs have right now is just the ability to manipulate the ball a little bit better, right? They can adjust their plays on the fly completely. And the Steelers just seem to have a little bit more difficulty making those key adjustments in the middle of the game. They use the half to figure out what needs to be done. But the Chiefs, with Andy Reid, have been able to literally from one play to the next swap things around. I think the Chiefs would remain slightly ahead, but a little bit of juice. They're going to be. They'll definitely give the Chiefs a very big headache as the season continues to progress.
I know we're in a COVID world, so we're always de-emphasizing to an extent home field advantage. But does Pittsburgh have a little extra edge if they can look? I'm not saying Pittsburgh's going to go 16-0, but let's say they did, and they wound up with home field, and Kansas City had to go to Pittsburgh in the AFC Championship game. Would that influence any of your thinking about whether or not Pittsburgh could beat them? If the game was at Heinz Field,
without a doubt. Yeah, that would be a hell of a contest. I'd love to see that one. And the Steelers would definitely have a very strong position to win it out. Right.
Yeah.
They would give everything they have to the Chiefs, and they've got the strength to be able to pull it off. But they just need a little bit extra boost to get there.
I'm looking it up right now because I'm just curious. I want to see what the rest of the Steelers' schedule looks like.
It looks pretty soft. This trade deadline today, it'll be interesting to see if any of these big guns make some moves. Like the Packers are looking at Will Fuller. I know the Steelers were looking at some people, KC. So if there's a team rebuilding and some of these big guns can get some studs, look out. But I still like KC. The Steelers keep getting by. I don't know if you guys watched that Ravens game. I was on the wrong side of that game. I had the Ravens just very small in like a contest. I know you both were on the Steelers, but the Ravens dominated the Steelers statistically. It was Lamar had 4 turnovers that game, a couple of those in the red zone, and the Steelers they played an early soft schedule. They haven't blown out a lot of teams. Like the Chiefs, to me, still kind of look like the class of the AFC right now. But the Steelers are up there. You got to give them credit. Everyone in the NFL, you can't take that away. But I still think the Chiefs are kind of the kings of the conference right now.
Here
Yeah,
is
but, you brought up the statistics there. Well, a win's a win, and Pittsburgh deserved that win, and I think the defense really got them by. But Roethlisberger had 24 yards at halftime, and I believe didn't throw a pass over 15 yards the whole game.
Yeah,
I think 2, maybe 3 over 10 yards. So, that's not going to cut it against a much, much better team. Not that the Ravens aren't a great team, but they're certainly not playing like a great team right now. And on the flip side, this is a huge loss for them.
yes.
yeah. It's just lost their best.
It looks a little lost right now.
So here's the. I'm just going to give it to you guys. Here's the Steelers' remaining schedule to see if they have a shot to do this. This week at Dallas. That's got to be it. That's a win. Week 10, home against the Bengals. That should be a win. Week 11 at Jacksonville. That's a win. Then you get week 12 in Pittsburgh. Oh, and that, I believe, if I'm seeing this right, that's the night game on Thanksgiving. Ravens at Steelers, week 12, Thanksgiving night. That's pretty good. Now
That's going to be a good game.
It's home. In the Ravens, as we talked about on Friday, the Ravens, when they play really good teams, just don't execute at that level. They play it down to the good. They beat the bad teams and they lose to the good teams. So, I think 12-0. Okay, week 13, home against Washington. Yeah. Okay. Here's the one I think they might trip up. Week 14, so you're middle of December, at Buffalo. That's one. If Buffalo can get itself back together to where they were at the beginning of the year, I could see that could be a loss. Then week 15, they're at the Bengals, which could be a loss. Bengals are playing pretty well, so you might, at home, they might be able to do that. Week 16 at home against the Colts. I know the Colts are decent. I can't see them going into Pittsburgh at that time of year and winning. Has Phil Rivers ever played, in a game that cold? Probably not. And then they end the year at the Browns. And I'm sure the Browns would love to pull that upset if they were 15-0. But that's their schedule. Ravens.
That's a very, very, very reasonable schedule.
Yes.
I'm not suggesting they're going to go unbeaten, but if they only lose one game, if they lose to either the Bills or the Ravens, I could see maybe one of those two. But I could see them easily beating most of those teams and winning those games, especially at home too.
And the thing, if you're Pittsburgh right now, depending on how the rest of the season goes, say they only lose one, because Kansas City's loss is in the AFC. So if they lose one game, say they lose at Buffalo. Well, okay, so and they wind up with the same record, but they both have one loss in the AFC. I mean, we're ways from figuring out the tiebreakers, but Pittsburgh could still wind up as the number 1 seed. And if Kansas, so if you're Kansas City, I mean, you got to be looking at that and saying, hey, we can't lose any more games, or we certainly can't lose another game in the conference, or we're not going to have home field. It's again, I know we're only halfway there, but that's an interesting situation that could be developing there, where Kansas City could still clearly be the best team, but not have home field in the playoffs.
I think there's 2 big things to watch. Obviously, injuries are 1. Trade deadline is 2. Actually, 3. Trade deadline's 2 today. And then home field advantage. I feel like a lot of these stadiums are opening up, whether it's a revenue, whether they feel safer, whether they feel like it's better processes in place. But, you get the Chiefs with fans, I mean, that's a different ball game, right? Like any team that's got to go there and they got their fans, that's always been one of the toughest places to play. So you bring up a good point. That's going to be something fun to watch. I mean, this week's an easy win, and a lot of those games look like easy wins. I mean, any given Sunday, anything can happen, but you're right, man. They got a good chance. I would just going through it, 13-3, 14-2 sounds easily doable.
Oh, easily. Easily. I guess that's one of the beauties of you drawing the NFC East as your NFC division. Although, boy, I'll tell you, can I just say, poor Giants. You know what? They throw the flag. Throw the flag. I thought that was for them, like, that was an impressive performance. They could have easily laid down. I mean, they were playing so well, and then and look, Daniel Jones, he just makes way too many mistakes.
He does.
Well, he's a Giants quarterback. That seems to be a requirement to be a Giants quarterback, is you have kind of a funny look on your face, a bit confused in general, and you make a lot of weird mistakes.
You missed like 4 wide open touchdowns yesterday. Like
those are bad mistakes to make.
Like wide open, and they got those one-on-one situations. I mean, what more can the OC and the coach draw up? You guys want to hear a bad beat? I had Deion Lewis over 9.5 receiving yards yesterday. First touchdown, 7 yards. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, yeah.
He gets a bubble screen. He picks up a yard, so he's at 8 yards. If Daniel Jones just throws that ball like a second earlier, I win my bet, and it was a decent amount of money because I thought it was a good matchup, and I thought they would be down more.
Yes, they were going to be down, and so they were going to use him in the passing. Yes.
Their last drive, I don't know if you guys – because I have money on him, so I'm just watching him, right? I don't even care about what's happening because I didn't really have a side or a total or anything. He's open every time for the dump off. And then Daniel Jones just sails it over his head once. The 5 other times he throws it out of bounds. He takes a sack. I'm like, throw it to this guy. He's right here in front of you. He's open. And so that's a pretty bad beat, I thought.
That's a bad beat.
I would just rant about it a little bit because you brought up Daniel Jones.
That reminds me of the Monday night game about 3 weeks ago when Atlanta was playing Green Bay. And my wife and I, we had Calvin Ridley. Yeah. All we needed was one catch. Just one. One catch, one catch for 1 yard. That's all we needed, and we win. And then not only does he not get one, but then he had that, they threw him that one in the end zone right near the end of the game, and it was like right in his hands, and he dropped it. So I feel your pain, son. That's tough. That's tough. But yeah, so they should have won that game last night. But, and it would have been great, too. The Giants beating Tom Brady again,
That was the only storyline I was particularly interested in that because, to be quite frank, as a Giants fan, I don't want them to win any games right now. Like, that's the last thing I want to happen.
Oh, right. That's true.
But I need the Jets to start winning some games. But as I was sort of watching it and, thinking about how, wow, they just really seem to have Brady's number, especially in the first. I mean, they looked awful. I mean, the game kind of in general was not the best on either side, but and I don't know if it was more of injuries and not playing well on Tom Brady's side or how good Giants defense was playing, but it was an ugly first quarter for sure for Tampa Bay.
Let me, speaking of the draft, I kind of feel like asking this. So Trevor Lawrence is going to miss his second game now this week because of COVID. We don't know when he's coming back. We don't know if he is coming back. We don't know how severe, obviously we have no idea what's going on with him. And they got the Jets are still sitting there looking at as having the number 1 pick. Anybody wondering now, is he? You think he's going to stay? You think Trevor Lawrence might stay?
I think he already has. I mean, he's. I was talking to my dad about this. He's a big Jets fan. We've been talking about the Trevor Lawrence thing for a few weeks, and it was the first time last week when I was like, he might stick around but then the Jets aren't going to get any better. So what are the chances that they are the worst team again in 2021? And now you've essentially wasted another season in college. The risk you take, he is considered a generational quarterback today. Who knows what's going to happen in 13 months?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Take a chance, sign with the Jets. Could be worse. You could get hurt playing in college.
Yeah, I don't know. I would just wonder, him missing a bunch of games now, what that does to his thinking. Does he feel like he needs – does he feel like I don't need any more games, I'm ready to go? I
think he probably already thought that. I'm not sure that that's the reason he went back necessarily because he didn't feel ready. But
I don't know.
I mean, it seems like the team's in good hands. I mean, they didn't have a blowout win by any stretch of the imagination, but they won. That was a hell of an exciting game to follow.
That was a good game. You got to give Erik props on the last pod. You weren't here, Matt. He said Clemson
Yeah, he said he had BC winning on the
I
field.
was following you guys on the chat when I was
has a chance
laid
to
up.
win the game, and me and Jeff kind of were like, I don't know about this.
I love the fact that they were still getting like the 28
Yeah,
points.
we all agreed cover.
Yeah.
But Eric
Yes,
said
that they were
they're
going to cover.
beat
Eric
them.
took it to the next level.
And
Yeah.
me and Jeff are like, no, I think Eric might be like drinking a little early on a Friday. Like, I got to give them props. I mean, they dominated that game, and they played literally down to the end. And
They did.
to have a dog that big literally be down to the last play, like, that's a hell of a call by Eric. But to your point, Jeff, what I've been hearing, at least like basketball and football, all these kids, anybody that has the opportunity to leave, they're gonna this year because of this whole COVID stuff. Like, they still don't know if like another wave comes and they shut down the NCAA again. They're just scared of like losing their opportunity. If it was like a normal year, I could see some of these guys coming back to try to win titles. But I think this year, this is what I've heard from a lot of people. They're just going to go and try to get paid and get out there. And it doesn't matter if it's the Jets or the Bears or the Giants or, whoever you want to put down there, they're going to be happy to get out there.
The running back, I forget what school he's at, Kylan Hill, he opted out this morning. He's going right into the draft. So I think that there you go. I mean, there's an example right there. He's like one of the best running backs in the country. And he is done with playing this year, and he's just going to get ready for the draft.
Where he's from, Mississippi State, right? Does that sound
right? I think that's right. Yes. So yeah, he opted out this morning. So to your point, and we may start seeing more of that, where guys are like, you know what, this is not worth the risk. Especially with such a goofy, truncated semi-season. Wisconsin's missing another game now. They got like 27, I think they said 27 kids now on that team are positive, so who knows when Wisconsin's playing again, and all the teams that were supposed to play Wisconsin, I just think they should go ahead and give San Diego State the national championship right now. 2-0, baby. Aztecs.
Ugh, it's better than the Wolverines.
Beat the hell out of Utah State on Saturday. Big win. How about a San Diego State, North Carolina national championship game? What do you think, Eric? You like that?
That works for me.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, we'll see it. We'll see you on January 10th or whatever.
Yeah.
North Carolina is looking. So what are they now? What are they? 5-0, 6-0?
No, they've dropped 2.
Oh, they have. Oh, I thought they were undefeated.
No, I wish.
Oh, wow.
They're still doing. They're still doing well, but
I didn't know. I thought they were. Yeah, I thought they were undefeated. They're playing well. I mean, it seems like they're playing great.
They are. They're playing really well.
They're 4-2.
4-2. Okay. Well, that's bowl eligible.
Definitely. I mean, if they can keep it together, which they should be able to at this pace, they're definitely in really good position to have, after a long wait, a winning season. So I'd love to see it happen.
Is that a senior-heavy team, or are they a pretty young team that will compete again next year?
You'll see a lot of repeats next year.
Oh, good. Well, there you go. So, Vic, what's your college team? Oh, Vic went to sleep on me. Vic, can you hear us? Oh, we lost Vic. There he is. Now we can't hear him.
I was trying to research North Carolina's record in some.
Oh, and he went wacko.
I thought you were just so into whatever was talking about. You were just.
What's your college team?
I don't have a college team, man. I went to Marquette, so we didn't have a football team. And then when I was in high school, my high school also didn't have the only team in Chicago that didn't have a football team. So
wow.
I would say like the only football game I've gone to was in Michigan, and it was the best weekend of my life. I can't go into too much on the reasons why, but like, and 130,000 people, like all their little traditions, and like, it was amazing. That was like the best experience that I've ever had.
What game was it?
It was homecoming too. I'm old, man. This is like 20 years ago we're talking about, but like,
that is old. Yeah.
It was amazing.
Was Tom Brady the quarterback?
No.
He didn't play.
But it was awesome, man. So like, if I had to pick like one, I would go like Michigan for that reason, or like growing up in Chicago, all we watched on Saturdays is like Notre Dame because that's all that's on TV, right? So, but I don't really have a college football squad per se.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, I'm a UConn guy, so football. What's football? You and I, man, UConn Marquette. We should get. We'll. I will have an opportunity. I'm sure there's got to be some UConn Marquette coming up now.
We'll go post.
We're back, baby. We're back where we belong in the Big East. So we'll have some fun with that. And yeah, Matt, you're a Michigan guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, a lifelong Michigan guy.
Yeah, my dad went there, so
Oh, okay.
not me.
Okay. Yeah.
But I do have an original T-shirt from like the '74, '5, '6 Rose Bowl, so I'm happy with that. But yeah, no, this weekend was a disaster. I can't even.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I didn't even really watch the game. I mean, I guess I was pretty sick. You guys out there in Facebook world don't know this, but I was laid up this weekend, so I didn't really watch anything too much. But I'm happy I didn't watch that game. I checked the score towards the end, and my dad called me, and he was like, "This is a complete disaster." Rutgers beat them last week. Rutgers beat Michigan State, which I was laughing about to begin with, and then that happened. So I mean, whatever. So I'm just skipping to next year. No sports. I'm interested.
I was gonna say, can you take the pulse of what's are they? Is Harbaugh gonna make it?
Well, that was the conversation that my dad wanted to have with me, and I'm surprised that I don't hear more of that coming out from the camp, I guess, because he really hasn't impressed me personally. I think he's a fantastic coach, and I think that one of the places that Michigan in general needed help with was their quarterbacks. Back when he came up, that was like Denard Robinson years before he came, and that was a very, very different system. They wanted, I think, to move when Patterson came up to more of a pro system, which is why Harbaugh came in. And I think he did a fine job with Patterson, but obviously not good enough. And, they haven't beat Ohio State forever. They haven't really challenged for even the Big Ten title that closely in quite a while. So, I mean, as much as it sucks, because I really think he's a great coach, I think it's time for something different personally. But I haven't heard a lot of ire from the fans because I think they feel the same way. They're mostly intelligent maybe, and that he is a good coach. It's not really quite working out for whatever reason. So it's a difficult situation. I think, unfortunate.
All right. So Matt, I know no one that's watching the show right now is going to care about this, but this is just for you. Okay. You should tell your dad that the guy you work with and do the podcast with hung out and I don't want to say I worked with him, but I covered him. An old Michigan guy who he'll probably remember, Mike DeBoard.
Mike DeBoard, okay.
Mike DeBoard was Tom Brady's offensive coordinator.
Okay.
And he was the offensive coordinator for the San Diego Fleet in the Alliance of American Football.
Okay. I'm reading about him now, San Diego Fleet of Alliance American Football. You nailed that. Yep.
He was at Michigan when Brady was there. I believe he was either the quarterback's coach or he was the offensive coordinator.
He was the OC.
Yeah. And because I remember we would talk about him a lot.
Yes, I just know my dad is a big Bo Schembechler guy, obviously.
Oh, sure. Of course he is. So he probably hates Woody Hayes.
Oh, yeah. Respects him, but yeah. We don't use Ohio State in the house. It's just Ohio. I said it last week in the podcast, actually. I don't even know if anybody noticed. I just called them Ohio.
Oh, that's okay.
It's one of those Michigan things, I guess, like Vic was talking about, the traditions and stuff. But yeah, like you said, those games are intense. This is the first year in 20 years I'm not going to go to one, so it's kind of sad, but whatever.
Yeah. Wow, crazy.
At least it wasn't this weekend's game.
People are talking about Michigan today, but not because of the football team.
Water quality?
No. There's just, again, as we may have mentioned at the beginning of the show, there is something happening in the country today, and Michigan is a big part of it. The whole Big Ten. The Big Ten is going to decide the election tonight. You got Michigan, you got Pennsylvania, you got Wisconsin, you got Ohio. All those states are
actually a good point.
Yeah. So not New Jersey so much.
No, but they're not it. They hardly even count.
Yeah, But Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio are four of the most important states on the map tonight. We're drifting into politics. That might be a good time for us to say goodbye. We will be back on Friday. Who knows what the world's going to look like on Friday? But we will be back. If you need a break from the world today, we got everything. We got you covered. So we will be back on Friday. We'll take a deeper dive into Week 9. Maybe give a little college. We'll see what Erik thinks about. Is North Carolina playing this week? Who they got?
Honestly, I haven't checked. I'll have to look at that.
Hey, you got 3 days to check.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
We'll do a North Carolina update on Friday. We're all rooting for North Carolina.
I'm still still trying to get over the Bucks game last night because that was just embarrassing. It really was.
Rough. Hey, is North Carolina Duke football a big rivalry?
Well, it's bigger Carolina and NC State.
NC State, sure. Okay.
Duke and Tar Heels are a huge rivalry in basketball.
Of course.
But in football, it's NC State and Chapel
Duke
Hill.
football is usually not very good, right?
No.
Although I have a good friend who played for he played for the Duke football team back in the day, so I don't want to say anything bad. But yeah, right. North Carolina, NC State, that would be the one there.
Yep.
Oh yeah, we're basketball guys. Like Vic said, we're basketball guys. So we'll have to do. Vic, we should do like a college basketball show maybe in the fall. What do you think?
When the games come back, we got to integrate them.
I think so. Maybe just you and me. We'll keep these football knuckleheads out. Matt, you a basketball guy?
College basketball or pro? I like pro basketball. College, not so much.
Yeah.
I'll watch
Vic,
it, but it's too much to follow.
Yeah, Vic and I will do a little, just the two of us, a little Big East situation or something.
Just a little Markel. I could do Big East. I like those. Big
Yeah.
East tournament, such a great thing to go to. Yeah, guys.
Oh,
I mean, obviously it's not going to happen this season, but if you guys ever get a chance, or any of you out there, to go to the Big East tournament, it's awesome.
Yeah, I got to cover about 6 of them. I think it was. I think I covered six men's, and of course I covered the women's ones forever. Yeah, the Big East tournament in New York is the greatest thing ever, no doubt about it. Everyone should do that at least once. All right. On that note, we're gonna go. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching us live on Facebook, thank you for spending some time with us. Hopefully you'll be able to enjoy this tonight. Stay safe, everybody. We'll one way or another, everything's going to turn out okay. And we'll just leave it at that. So for Vic and for Erik and for Matt, I'm Jeff. Have a great day. And we'll talk to you again on Friday.
Take care.